Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and welcome to the Macro Lounge podcast. I am your co-host, Chris Bold, and this is your host, Rachel Mead. I'm delegating.
Today.
Yep, I'm delegating legal responsibility to you this week, Rachel, so that way anything I say is actually Rachel's fault and I cannot be held responsible.
Which is really not good because today we're talking about different federations. So, yeah, I'm screwed.
Again, you think I did this by mistake. This is an error in judgment on your part.
On my part, I didn't decide this.
Well, I didn't really give you a choice. So that's how these things roll on the Macro Lounge podcast. We like to blame the other person, and if we can't blame each other, we are going to blame the producer. Yeah, mainly the producer because she's not here. So we'll be fine. Anyway, today we're going to talk about federations. Primarily, we're going to talk about the federations in New Zealand. Full disclosure up front, guys, we are primarily going to focus on the NZIFBB/NPC worldwide and the ICN, because those are the only two federations we really have personal experience with. It is no offense to all the other various alphabet federations out there who all do a wonderful job, I'm sure. I just don't want to say shit I can't back up.
Yes, so we do have quite a few different federations in New Zealand, and then because New Zealand bodybuilding works a little bit differently often than overseas, because overseas they have, like, it is a lot bigger. So places like the States, things work a little bit differently. So we figured it's good to go over how things actually work in New Zealand. So some of the federations that we have, we've got the WFF, the WBFF, the WNBF.
Hang on, do we still have WBFF?
I have. There is one. There is one show this year.
That's FMG. Get it right.
FMG. Sorry. Okay, there you go.
Oh, geez, you're in trouble. Yeah, all right.
I apologize. Yeah, FMG is the new WBFF.
You're going to get trouble. She said that, not me, ladies and gentlemen.
It basically is. Like, they brought out this the FMG kind of to replace the WBFF.
Okay, I'm not going to get into that one because I can get myself in trouble.
All right. Well,
all right, FMG, WBFF.
Anyway, yep. As we said, ICN and IFBB/NPC. So NPC is the amateur league of the IFBB.
That's correct.
Did I miss any?
You've got WNBF.
I did say that one. I think.
You've got WBFF.
Did that one.
You've got INBA.
Oh, I didn't say INBA. I apologize.
You have also... No, hang on. I'm pretty sure that might be... Is there... There's another one. There's a lot of...
NABA? NABBA?
Yep, NABA. We were just talking about them. There's a lot of different federations. There's also a lot more...
A lot of acronyms.
Yeah, acronyms. And we don't know what all of them mean. There is a lot more natural federations coming through, which is great. The two major natural federations would be the ICN, and then you've also got NPC. And then the NPC has brought out the new NPC natural division as well. So hence you often see two shows back to back on those ones.
Remember, NPC is part the amateur league of the IFBB.
Yeah, so you have the, and to clarify, there is the IFBB, which is the International Federation of Bodybuilders, which is the original IFBB. And there is also the IFBB Pro League, which is the professional division of NPC worldwide. And I think that's pretty much all of the alphabet we can remember.
So we only have the IFBB Pro League or NPC in New Zealand. We don't have currently the other IFBB, often known as IFBB Elite, I believe.
That's
the same, or is that a different one?
No, that's their pro division is called IFBB Elite.
Okay. If you see IFBB Elite, that is also the other one. So we don't have that in New Zealand at this point.
Not at this point. Yes. No. That's correct. So yeah, lots of different federations. And the thing about each of them is they each have their strengths and weaknesses. Again, we mentioned in the previous podcast, I am unabashedly an IFBB. Is acolyte the word? Cult member.
Cult member sounds about right.
Drank the Kool-Aid. Pretty much, I think I've got it tattooed somewhere. No, that's God. No. Actually, no, I don't. No, I can confirm IFBB is not one of my stupid drunken tattoos. That's all right. That's good. But I am unabashedly IFBB. Yeah, don't go there. And Rachel, as we talked earlier, is ICN and also is the reigning ICN World Champion swimsuit.
And I have actually competed in both IFBB and ICN, so I can speak a little bit to both, which is quite nice too.
Yep, that's true.
Should we start with the IFBB then?
You just want to get me in trouble because I threw you under the bus.
Obviously.
All right. Okay. So IFBB is arguably the leading federation in New Zealand. It has got the largest number of competitors, judged on the numbers from the last few years. It has probably the largest number of shows. So generally they have shows all around the country. Now they also have, quite frequently, they're running two shows within one. They'll run the NPC natural side and they will run the NPC worldwide side. So when we say NZIFBB, just to clarify, the NZIFBB is actually the NPC worldwide New Zealand.
Yes.
IFBB Pro League is when they do a pro show. So there's a pro bikini show this year, towards the end of the year, in Palmerston North, hosted by the wonderful team from Nutrition Systems New Zealand and Shane Hunter. Shout out to Shane and his family down there. So that's IFBB Pro League. NZIFBB and the regional shows is NPC Worldwide. So arguably the largest federation in New Zealand. Not the oldest. The oldest is NABA. But it's arguably the strongest federation. Some of the advantages of the IFBB is the international side. You have the ability to pretty much compete worldwide now that New Zealand is officially part of the NPC worldwide. You can compete in Australia, you can compete in the States, you can compete in any regional around the world. But you can also compete in any pro qualifier around the world. And there are numerous of them. In fact, there's one this week in, I believe, the east coast of the States, where there is, and I am not exaggerating, there is 160 pro cards for grabs.
Insane.
Yeah.
Definitely the IFBB is, I would say, the I guess the most shown on the media. If you search up bodybuilding and on Instagram, usually what will show up will be the IFBB. It's one of the perks I found with IFBB was that it's much easier to come across, say, your Olympia champions and who is the top running IFBB athletes. And so it's easier to learn the category because you can see these front lineups of the pro shows. There is a hierarchy kind of the pro shows. So obviously you have the Olympia, which is what most people know of. You have the Arnold, most people know Arnold. And then there's a couple of other big pro shows as well, like the Pittsburgh Pro, as well as quite high up there.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, your New York, your Miami, Toronto, which was just last weekend, I think. Texas. There's a lot of pro shows, and also a lot of it also has the amateur Olympias, which are worldwide. Those are awesome shows. If you guys ever get the opportunity to go and compete in the amateur Olympia, I wholeheartedly would support you in doing that. But it's often positioned as the road to the Olympia, the NPC worldwide, and the IFBB. There is no way to the Mr. Olympia stage other than through the IFBB Pro League. So if that's your goal, that's your federation. Again, 100% dyed in the wool. But as I said earlier, also major supporter of the sport. So I'm not here to speak ill of any other federation. The only other federations that I can speak to is the ICN, and I don't have anything negative to say about that, which will probably get me in trouble because I probably should, but I'm not going to. So, if I've offended anybody, that's your problem, not mine.
Yeah, so as I was saying before, I was so rudely interrupted. It is very easy to come across like those lineups, and the NPC is very good with having the photo galleries online, so you can access them easily. So if you want to look at a pro show and the photos from the pro show of the lineup of the athletes, it's very easy to go find those. So I found that much easier to learn the criteria because obviously when it's written down, you don't always know exactly where the line is. So if you can look at who's winning the shows, you eventually kind of learn what those words mean in terms of the visual context. Whereas I will say for ICN, I found that a lot more difficult because they don't have that same kind of gallery system, and it can be a little bit more difficult to find, I guess, those big shows online.
They also don't have the history of
no, so they haven't been going as long as IFBB.
It's a very new federation, in both globally and New Zealand. But yeah, I mean, if you as you said, if you go onto any form of social media and you search bodybuilding, it's a high likelihood that the athletes that you're going to see or the reporting on any form of competition is probably going to come from the IFBB Pro League and NPC Worldwide.
Most people, when they think bodybuilding, they think Arnold, Ronnie Coleman, what's Nick Walker, like those are the big names from the Olympia. Most people would know those names, and they're all IFBB.
Yeah, yeah, and that's something I've always struggled with because I mean, I tell you what, there are some freaking good athletes out there from other federations who just don't. I don't know. It's because if they're not as social media savvy, or to say somebody's not at that level. I mean, okay, there's only one Mr. Olympia. I mean, I think there's off the top of my head, I think there's only been 17 in the entire history of Mr. Olympia. But you know what? There are some really, really good athletes in other federations, and we're not here to talk down to any of them. But as you said, yeah, if you're looking for it, you're probably going to find information on even on like YouTube. It's probably most of the posing.
Most of them would be IFBB.
Yeah, but the other federations they have a place. So
yes. I think that, to be honest, my theory is that the reason that the IFBB is so kind of renowned internationally is because of Arnold, because obviously he's a Hollywood actor, Terminator. I think he really made the sport what it is today. I think without him, I don't know if the IFBB would be as popular as it is.
Did you know what he was before he was Mr. Olympia?
I don't even know. I watched his documentary a while back, but I don't remember.
He is actually NABBA Mr. Universe.
Oh, interesting.
A lot of those guys around that time, again showing my age, the NABBA Mr. Universe pre-Mr. Olympia was the premier world title. So a lot of those guys, the likes of Arnold, the likes of Reg Park, Sergio Olivier, all of those guys from the early 70s, they were actually Mr. Universe before they became Mr. Olympia.
Okay.
So, yeah. So he actually comes from the NABBA background.
Interesting. But yeah, now promotes IFBB. So yeah, I mean, that's my theory at least. I think that he's a big part of why the IFBB is so, I guess, well known internationally. Anyway, back to kind of what we're talking about. Some different federation things. Some of the different divisions, maybe.
Sure.
So we're mostly going to be over the female side of things. I think.
Yep.
We could skim over the males, but
we don't care about the males.
We don't care about the dudes.
They're all the same. They're just different size.
Yeah, different costumes.
Do they have different costumes?
I mean, because you got the physique trunks, and then you got the shorts, and then the classic trunks, and then the bodybuilding. You got the speedos.
True. So basically, you've got Y fronts, beach shorts, and thongs.
Yes.
Excellent choice.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the ICN female divisions? Because I always forget one or two of them.
Okay, so we'll start with the ICN men. So we'll go least muscular to most muscular. It's usually the easiest way to do it. So least muscular, there is a couple of I don't want to call them extras, but categories that don't have a pro division. Okay, so swimsuit this year has a pro division. Shout out to that. So they're actually not at the bottom of the muscularity chain. So there is transformation, which is, as it kind of says, transformation. So if you have had a massive weight loss journey, you can go into the transformation category, which I think is really cool. They have a like a runway, they wear a dress, and they also have a like a bikini segment. So they have one time when they're going on stage in a dress, one time when they're going on a bikini.
Do they go in a bikini, or do they go in a one-piece swimsuit? I can't remember.
It's not a one piece. It's not a one piece. I think it's a bikini or a figure suit. I apologize. I don't know entirely. I'm pretty sure it's figure suit. I think it's like figure posing.
I'm not going to get in trouble for that one.
I'm sorry. But yeah, so I think that's a really cool category, because it means that if somebody wants to have that kind of weight loss journey and they want to get on stage and showcase that, they can, and they've got a really safe space to do it. So yeah, transformation. Then there is also Miss Runway, which is in a gown. So you've got like an evening gown. Usually I see in New Zealand, people will wear like a sequin dress. So that one is, as it kind of says, like a runway model kind of vibe. So you're not really getting assessed too much on your muscularity and conditioning. A lot of it does come down to your posing, your presentation, how does the dress fit. So that one's very, very much the model side of things. Your posing and presentation is hugely important. They don't want you too muscular. They just want you to have basically really nice shape and symmetry. on top of the posing and presentation. So we've got Miss Runway, and then we got swimsuit. So that's in your one-piece suit, which is actually so nice. It's really relaxing not having your stomach on show. I don't know what it is, but you don't have to worry about any like bloating or digging in.
Says the girl whose feedback was, be careful, your abs are coming out too strong. She wants to hide her abdomen. It's like, not a problem I've suffered from in the last 20 years, ladies. I'm not even convinced I have abs. I have an ab.
It's actually so it's like the suit itself isn't overly comfortable because it's pulling on your neck because it's pulling down your stomach, but it makes you feel comfortable on stage. I don't know, it just feels a bit more relaxing. But so swimsuit is the next one, which now has a pro division, which is so exciting. So this year they will be doing pro shows for swimsuit for the first time, which is amazing. So swimsuit there is kind of similar to bikini. So so it's next step up from runway. They're looking for that really nice shape, symmetry with like a little bit of muscle to make that shape at that point. They do not want to have any like solid tie-ins. They want, I guess, kind of like the outline. But they do not want any solid tie-ins. You should not be able to see the V shape of that edge tie-in. You shouldn't be able to see any vascularity. They don't. It's also less conditioned than those other categories. Definitely not soft, but a little bit less conditioned. Then we go into bikini, where you take away the torso part of the coverage. So we're actually just getting less and less clothes here.
I'm not touching that one with a 10-foot pole.
Anyway, so we go going into our sparkly bikinis. It's very similar to swimsuit. Often, if you do well in swimsuit, you will also do well in bikini. Often, you will have the same overall winner at the regional shows, because it is a very similar look. Just slightly more muscle, slightly more conditioned. But yeah, as Chris said, they do not want solid abs, solid tie-ins. They don't want the vascularity. It is still very much about your shape.
Would you say that's probably more the similar to, say, the NPC / IFBB's fit model division?
Originally, I would have, but I'm actually now thinking that the fit model is going to be closer to sports model.
Okay, keep going.
I'm not sure if you can see that, but yeah, I mean the posing's slightly different. The posing is more similar.
We will ask the producer to put some images in this thing. I won't promise it because she's probably going to look at me going, "That ain't happening." But if we're capable of that technical stuff, we will try.
Yes, and sorry, I probably should have mentioned, for all of us, for ICN, we do quarter turns, which is much more complicated than IFBB. So you have to do 4 poses. You've got your side, your front, your other side, and your back pose. And in the back pose, you pose with your hands up, showing off your back. So you actually get judged on your back as well, not just your glutes. Where was I? So bikini, yeah, a little bit more muscle, a little bit more conditioning, but yeah, no solid tie-ins. They don't want solid abs. That was, as Chris said, I got told off for my abs. Having some water retention on a plane actually helped me because I was a little bit on the leaner side. Yeah,
Travel is your friend when it comes to traveling, UK. You eat more and you hold water. So it's like, who knew?
So yes, it is definitely less than what the IFB is. We'll go into that in a minute. But the next step up from that is Miss Fitness. So difference between bikini and fitness is, I would say fitness is closer to IFBB bikini. They want the conditioning and they want a bit more size. The conditioning, I think, is the main player there. In theory, you don't really get judged too much on your muscle in bikini. In reality, it does make a difference, but
well, you need the muscle to hold the shape
yes,
and the fullness. If you don't have the muscle, you just
you just look skinny. I've had that, but anyway, fitness. You want that conditioning. You want to have not capped delts, but you want to start getting kind of the line that I would say. You still don't want to be super vascular, but you can. I do often see a few veins show up here and there, but you shouldn't be like terribly veiny or anything. But it's still that very feminine look, with a bit more conditioning. You're allowed. They want your 6-pack on fitness, and they do want a bit more tie-in, or a lot. So yeah, basically a lot harder, a little bit more muscular, closer to IFBB bikini. If you are an IFBB bikini competitor looking to do ICN, if you're at that kind of level, then yeah, you probably want to do fitness rather than bikini.
Is that where? So just to in the recent ICN in Taupo, we did notice the conditioning was a little bit
Yes,
more extreme, not extreme, a little bit higher level of conditioning in the bikini
bikini, yes.
than what we'd expected last year. Do you think that's normal? Just to sidetrack a little bit?
I was actually a little bit surprised. I thought that a few of the top three for a few of them should have probably been in fitness. There was a few girls, a few of my clients as well, that I think should have been in fitness. And I think one or two of them actually possibly they would have given the winner a run for her money. I don't know because they didn't stand next to each other. But a few of those girls I think were actually bigger than the winner of fitness. So some of it goes up to who shows up on the day. I think the reason that they were rewarded was just because they looked so good that it was hard not to reward them. So some of that did come down to who showed up on the day. I did really like who they had for the winner, which was my client Daphne. Shout out to Daphne. Um, and it was really nice to see that they gave her the win over I guess the I'm going to say the most impressive look with quotation marks, which I think IFBB often goes for that wow factor, rather than necessarily sticking to the criteria,
Yeah,
which
that's
the
true.
criteria is a little bit softer. So they rewarded someone for the overall winner for bikini who was a little bit softer than those other girls who probably should have been in fitness, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Hopefully, hopefully.
I'm
But
just
yeah,
going to
I
nod
think
and smile and go, yeah.
I do think at nationals it will be a little bit of a different story. I hope that I think there's about three of them. I hope that they all go into fitness because I think at nationals they won't be rewarded as well because obviously there will be more competition.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
yeah, so some of it came down to who showed up, and again, it's hard not to reward the wow factor.
Well, that's one of the things, just to sidetrack a little bit about judging, is like you can only judge what's in front of you. So
Yes,
even if the criteria is A, B, and C, and you get X, Y, and Z, you've got to judge X, Y, and Z. You can't, if you've got 6 girls, 5 are shredded, and 1 meets the criteria. Now your choice is either she's first or she's last. So, and that can go either way. Technically, she should be first, right? Meets the criteria. But as you said, often there's the wow factor. It's like, damn, you know.
yes,
Um,
which then makes the person who actually fits the criteria almost look worse in a
yeah,
way. Not worse, but yeah, not as
and that
good.
and that's why in the past we've actually seen people have come out and said, "Oh, they're clearly going for this look." We're like, no, that's just who was there.
Yeah, there was some
We,
definitely at Talpo. There was some tricky judging, like the swimsuit. There was the overall. There was two girls. One of them, Daphne, took out the overall. So for bikini and swimsuit, and the other girl had I don't know her name, but she had a lot more muscle and size.
yeah,
Um, and it was a very tough one because it was: do you reward the overall size and conditioning, or do you reward the person who actually suits the criteria better? So one girl had a bit more well factor. The other one had a little bit closer to the actual criteria. So it was that one was really tricky, and I was really curious to see how they judged it. They did judge it the person who stuck closer to the criteria, which I was stoked about. That made me very happy. She also had her posing really came into that. She had much more confident posing, and in those less muscular categories, the posing is more important. So as you go up, the posing plays a little bit less part in the judging criteria. It's not to say it's not important. It's just less of the consideration.
yeah. That makes sense. So that was the fitness. What was after that category?
Sorry, sidetracking. So you got swimsuit, bikini, fitness, and then sports. It's kind of to the side, I would say.
Mm,
Um, it's a little bit to the side of fitness, I would say, because it's still that muscular look, but they want you to be fuller or like softer. So they don't want you to be that hard muscular look. They want you to look like you could be like an athlete on a magazine page, basically, which I think is very close to the IFBB fit model look that that they're getting at this point. Like that, what I'm seeing rewarded.
mm.
Possibly a little bit less conditioned, but they wear the different outfits. They don't have the bikini. They have a sports bra and little booty shorts, which are super cute and super comfortable. Oh
Those
my
are
god!
not booty shorts. I've got
Well, okay,
underwear bigger than that.
they're basically underwear, to be honest, but they are super cute, and you get to wear sneakers.
Oh yeah,
Oh
true,
my
true.
god,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
sneakers!
Yeah, sneakers. Yeah, yeah, that beats the plastic stripper heels. We'll go with that. Yeah, okay.
It's so fun. So yeah, I entered that a couple of times last year, and it's so fun walking on stage in heels, and yeah, the little costume. It's great. You take off your bikini, and you're like, oh my god, this is so much more comfortable. But yeah, they want more quads, they want more shoulders, more muscle, but they don't want you to be overly lean.
Right.
So yeah, it's more of that athlete look. So you're looking
Hmm.
like an athlete, like maybe like an athletics athlete, I would say.
Sure. Which is
Um,
why your flatmate nailed it.
yes, my good friend Jane, she's beautiful. She absolutely smashed it.
Genetic freak.
Yes, she is. I hate her so much for it. Oh my God. It's unfair. She
Yeah.
walked into a bodybuilding show first year. She just was an athletics competitor. Got her freaking pro card. Like she qualified for the pro show. And I'm just like, what the hell? Just took out the overall and then
No, no.
almost got her pro card in wellness and IFBB.
That's true. She did. She was very, very close. It was a very
Yeah,
close second.
it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
nuts. And she's never trained for bodybuilding.
We do not advise this behavior. We think you should work really, really hard and take many years to get there.
Yeah, but also be an athletics athlete.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it hurts my
And
ankles.
then
Anyway.
what's after that one?
Then you go into figure. So
Yep.
there's actually two figure categories in ICN. Now
Was it?
there is. So there's classic figure and then there's figure. Um,
Okay, now you're just confusing the hell out of me. What do you mean there's
yeah, I'm gonna
classic
be
figure and
honest, I
there's
don't
figure?
entirely know the difference between two. I think one of them has some bodybuilding poses, to my knowledge. And the other one is more like the IFBB kind of just standard figure poses. So the posing is actually different. I can't speak too much to difference there because I'm going to be honest, I haven't looked into it in as much depth. I've been trying to focus on the ones below that. But um, usually people will enter both.
Oh,
Yeah. So I think from memory, so classic figure is what as it kind of says classic. So it's kind of the older kind of style of figure, which I think I would have the bodybuilding poses in that one. It would make sense to me. Don't quote me on that, but it's a little bit older style. I think they want you not quite as hard, not quite as big. Again, don't quote me on this, so I'm going to shut up now because I don't know. But figure, yeah, is your next muscular. You usually have your symmetry poses. You're starting to get into those muscular poses rather than your bikini type poses of your side, and the back is slightly different because you're trying to flex your muscles a bit more. Which to the side of that, we have wellness.
of course you do.
Yes, there is a lot of categories, a lot.
Right. There'll be a test at the end of this podcast, ladies and gentlemen, to see if you were paying attention to all of those categories. All
Yes,
right.
so
Well,
wellness, they want lower body dominant. I think it's very new in the ICN wellness. I think it's only been there for 1 or 2 years. It's a lot newer than the IFBB. And they've only just started doing pro for that this year as well. So same
okay.
with swimsuit. This year is the first year they're going to have a pro wellness division. Yeah, so they want you lower body dominant. In theory, it's pretty much similar category to the IFBB one, but just the natural version. Um, Bigger quads, bigger glutes.
Are
In
you saying
theory, bikini-ish or fitness-sized upper
are
body, but
you saying the IFBB wellness girls aren't natural?
some of them aren't. At the pro
That's right.
level,
All
at
right,
the
all right.
pro level, let's be
We won't
honest
hold
here.
we won't hold that against you. All right.
And that's a very different podcast.
Yep. Yeah, we don't want to go down there. I will get myself in
One
a
thing I
lot of
will
trouble.
say about that is ICN tends to reward a more natural look.
Yeah. No, I'd
If
agree
you
with
do
that.
not look natural, even if you are like
Yeah.
though that like really like shredded grainy look, they
Yeah.
generally don't reward it because it doesn't look natural.
Yeah. No, I noticed that.
Even if you're just
And that's good. I mean, unfortunately, if you are that blessed, but I think that's a good thing. Yeah, and as you said, with the IFBB, I mean, obviously, just to clarify, guys, we don't want you to feel left out. We do know ICN has male classes as well. We're just not going to talk about them today. All right? Don't be offended.
well, it took
Sorry.
us half an hour to get this far.
I know. And we've now got 3 minutes to do the IFBB. Right. No. Well, kind of. Yeah,
Because
so
obviously ICN's more important. That's why it takes more time.
I'm not going down there. I know people. I will get hurted. I'm just going to say that. I could get cancelled in 3 seconds. It happens to me every day.
I just had to put it
Um,
in.
all
Anyway,
right.
IFB.
IFBB. I'll go through that one. Right. So similar, sort of, if you think about it from a progression perspective, you've got progressions through muscularity. The newest division. Well, we can't forget there is fitness. Unfortunately, in New Zealand, I honestly can't tell you the last time I saw a fitness competitor on stage. It's got to be at least 3 years.
Yeah,
In
it's been
fact,
a
I
while.
think one of the last ones will have been one of the most
Shut up.
recent IFBB pros, which would be Rochelle.
Yes,
She,
I
she,
always remember watching her.
she was awesome at fitness.
She was amazing in fitness.
And if you ever go to the Olympia, the best class to watch is the
Fitness.
fitness because those
I
girls
love
are
watching fitness. They are addictive.
jacked. And then
They're
they come out
insane.
and they bounce around like freaking jackrabbits. I remember
It's crazy.
last
Their
time I went to,
routines are so cool. Their
oh yeah,
routines are amazing. The costumes are great.
the last time I went to the Olympia, I was late getting in, and because I'd been doing some judging for the amateur Olympia, which was on at the same time, and I went running in. I was like, shit, and I thought I had missed it because these girls were standing there in their one-piece figure suits, and these girls are freaking jacked. And I was like, I thought it was figure until I recognized one of the athletes who I actually judged when I was an NPC judge, and I went, hang on, Tanji's in fitness. What the fuck is she doing in figure? But I was wrong. Anyway, so fitness, unfortunately, don't really see it anymore. So it's probably not really worth talking about.
Basically, jacked gymnast is the vibe.
Figure with bouncy
Gymnastics.
shoes. Yeah, figure with gymnastics. We'll go with that. But from the lowest muscularity working up, you've got the newest division being the fit model. Again, we haven't seen it in New Zealand yet. We have seen it this year internationally. It's a hard one to sort of get your head around because it seems the judging results have kind of been very varied around the world. But essentially, if you can imagine, it's a softer, less muscular, less defined version of bikini. I would almost call it classic bikini. It's like the 2000 and the mid 2010s look. The Ashley Kay, the Janet Leigh, who was probably a little bit hard.
I think I'm actually hoping that they kind of progress to the Janet Leigh look.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like holding it there would be fantastic because she wasn't huge. Like she was never a big athlete. She's a little blanky like me, which is why I'm a little bit biased here.
She's also lovely, by the way.
She is stunning. But yeah, I'm hoping that that's kind of what they progress to because it will progress.
It will progress. And they'll probably put some sparklies on the bikinis just to keep rates.
They better put some sparkles on the bikini.
So that's the newest one. We haven't really seen it yet. It'll be interesting to see what you see. Interestingly enough, just so guys, if you're aware, if you're going to be competing, you need to make a choice. You cannot cross over. Well, this is the international rule. I'm assuming it'll apply in New Zealand. But if you do fit model, you cannot also do bikini. So it's one of the few provisos. You can't cross out of that one. And that's mainly for the judges because at the end of the day, if you do well in fit model, you technically should not do well in bikini. But it'll make their life difficult because of the judging, like the number of athletes in New Zealand, you'd end up with the same one. And then you're like, well, shit, she wins this one and she wins this one. It would just be
what's the difference? Yeah, actually, there's a bunch of those in ICN as well, but we don't have to talk about that right now. But there is a lot of those crossover rules in ICN.
Oh, that's good. Yes. So anyway, after fit model, then you obviously have bikini, which is probably the largest of the female divisions. And you could arguably say it's the largest in the federation in general. It's not uncommon to see almost 50% of the athletes in bikini from a show. Yeah. There is a lot more. Internationally, you've seen they're coming in harder. There's much more definition in the hamstring tie-ins, small delt caps, not boulder shoulders, but small delt caps. A couple of them are jacked. No, the posing is only front and back. So unlike ICN, there is no back pose as such.
It is so much more simple. That is one thing I will say. If you ever cross over, like, oh my God, the quarter turns.
Yeah. I personally think they should have quarter turns. I think they should, but they don't.
And it's quite nice not.
So that's the biggest division. We can talk a little bit about progressions as well later on. Then after bikini, then you move into wellness, which is the one where it's predominantly lower body predominant or lower body dominant. In fact, it's lower body imbalance is rewarded. So technically it should be a bikini upper body and not even figure, it's different legs, but quite dominant lower body.
Think Brazilian.
Think Brazilian. So quad sweep, glutes, hamstrings. You are seeing a lot of the girls at the elite level are a lot bigger in the upper body, and they've sort of been trying to pull them down, which is good to see. But that's the sort of one, if you're one of those girls that naturally has big muscular legs, don't try and put yourself in bikini. Go up into wellness. Have fun with it. Your next division after that is figure. which is the more what I would call the Marvel superhero character, very much an X frame as opposed to an hourglass, wide shoulders, narrow waist, wide hips, sweeping quads. Not so much glute dominant. It's not really a big issue for figure.
I will say though, don't forget to train your glutes, because a lot of figure girls just don't train their
Yeah,
glutes, and then
and
they
they should.
turn to the back and it looks really soft because they just don't have the muscle there to fill it out, and then you just get the loose skin there. So don't actually forget to
Yeah,
train your
don't
glutes. If
forget
you
to.
look at Sid Gillen, the queen of figure, she has
Hmm.
amazing glutes. Not
Exactly.
necessarily wellness type glutes, but
Yeah,
don't neglect them.
don't neglect them. No. Conditioning wise, probably a little bit better conditioning, a little bit more
Yeah.
extreme. Still full, not shredded, not feathery. They're not looking for huge. They're not looking for feathering. There's striations and there's feathering. Feathering
So
is
what
when
is
like
feathering?
it's literally when you can see the muscles just like they move and there's like nothing under there. There's no fat. There's no water. It's what
It's like
looks
the
good.
rippling. You can see the
Yeah,
rippling whenever you move. You can see the
yeah.
muscles, ripple
And you
underneath the
just see
skin.
all the little lines and everything, and that's where you're talking about separation is when you can see the muscle belly. So figure has more separation. Wellness probably has more separation than bikini. No
Yes.
separation. They don't want to see that when you're walking. They don't want to see your quad separation. After figure, then you go into women's physique, which is the bigger category up. Again, that's probably what most of us would refer to as women's bodybuilding, but it's not. There is actually a women's bodybuilding category as well.
Yes.
The women's bodybuilding is the Ms. Olympia. That's what when you hear the title Miss Olympia, that refers to women's bodybuilding. But we don't. I haven't seen a women's bodybuilding champion in New Zealand for quite a while. I've seen there's a few women's physique. And then I guess, those are the main ones. Obviously, we'll talk about me in a later date. Sorry, boys, but we're not really here to talk about you.
No,
You
we're
don't
not.
have sparkly stuff. We don't count. But then there's
Exactly.
progressions. So in the IFBB, your progressions are you can start off. You have age progression. So you've got they do have a first timers class, which is really cool, and that's for not competing before. It doesn't mean your first time in IFBB. It literally means you have not competed before.
You
You'll
have never
see it.
stepped on stage as a bodybuilding
Yeah,
athlete.
you'll see it referred to often in the States. They also do one called a true first
True
timers, which I
novice.
think is kind of weird. But anyway, first timers never competed before. Then your next one is you've got the age ones. So you've got teenage, juniors, masters. I believe in ICN, Rachel, they have one called the moms class, which confuses
Bikini
the
mama.
hell out of, confuses the hell out of me. And then after the age ones, then you've got if you like, the experience. So you've got novice and open. Some people will never do novice. They'll just go straight to open. Open tends to be the, if you like, the higher caliber athlete. Although I would argue that quite frequently in shows, particularly in New Zealand, the novice class is probably more competitive because more girls are like, oh, I don't want to do open. I don't want to do open. I just want to do
Fun
novice.
fact, I'm still technically novice.
Yeah, you can stay novice as long as you like until you win an overall. Once you win an overall,
Yes.
that's it. You can't go back. I never did novice.
I keep
just always
having the
did open.
misfortune of having the people who go pro in my height class.
This is also true. But you did very well against her last year. That was competitive, which is all that we asked for.
Yeah, so you can be novice. The novice doesn't mean you're a beginner. Novice just means you've never won an overall.
Yeah, and novice just means sometimes you just feel more
Which,
comfortable in that division.
overall means that you've won your class, whatever that might be. If it's, let's say it's the novice tall class. So we've got height classes. You've won your class. Every winner from each class then goes into a lineup to compete against each other. It's like a final. And
Yeah.
if you win that, that's the overall.
Now, technically, in the IFBB, you can only compete for the overall in the open classes.
Yes, you
So
cannot go to the overall for the novice and a pro qualifier.
Yeah, for novice, for masters, any of the age ones, you actually have to be in the open class to go into
Yes.
overall. And for a pro qualifying thing, you must be open as well. So, and those are your progressions. Quite often, people will start in juniors. In juniors, or they'll start in first timers. Personally, not a big fan. From a judge, it's really, really hard because you can imagine you've got people Rachel's height, and then you've got people my wife's height, and
It's
that's
just
kind of
something
like
quite cool
this.
though. I found that really cool about doing juniors. So my first show was juniors. I actually got ID'd because they didn't believe me. Apparently I looked old. But I found it really interesting being in a class against shorter people. So I competed against Jess on Instagram, Jess Swole, who's very, very short. She's
Mm-hmm.
usually in the shorter categories. And I found that really cool to be able to compete against some people different heights, because other than now going into ICN and IFBB, I've never had that opportunity again, because you don't do that unless you're a pro from then on.
No. Well, the only thing is, from like for first timers in particular,
Yeah, definitely. It
and
sucks for the judges, but it's great. It's
we're like,
interesting as an athlete.
huh. But yeah, from an athlete's perspective. But then again, like one of the ICN shows, in the Hawke's Bay one, there was that one girl who looked
Oh,
like she was
yes.
like 9 feet tall, and then there was another
Yeah.
girl who looked like she was 3 foot tall. It was just like, and they
Yeah,
put
she
them
was
together
really
every
tiny.
comparison. It was like, are they just messing with these two ladies? Because it just looked odd. Anyway, so that's your progressions. You've got your age progressions, and you've got
Yes.
your experience progressions.
Yes.
And then obviously within, and ICN as well, within the NPC worldwide, your progression is obviously pro card status, and then you can move on to the pro league. And in the pro league, there is no progression. You're a pro.
Olympia or Arnold.
Yep, and that, or whatever other pro show there is out there.
Well,
We've got one in New
because
Zealand.
the Olympia and Arnold are the only two that you can't just enter.
No, you have to qualify for the Olympia, and
Yes.
you have to be invited to the Arnold.
That's why that's the next progression.
Yeah, and so you've got your
The
standard
pro
pro
shows you can
shows.
just enter.
Yeah, so you can. So yeah, so again, and not speaking ill of any of the other federations out there, they have very similar divisions and classes. We just are not experienced with those, and I don't want to make any comments about them that we can't really back up with individual
So
knowledge.
super quickly, ICN progression, super quickly, because we've already done IFBB, it's very similar. So you've got, your first timer, you've got your novice, open. Both of them, for open, you do not have to qualify. You can still be a first timer and compete in open if you want. Then they also have, your masters. In ICN, it's a little bit different, because in the novice and open classes, there's no height classes. If there's too many girls, they will split it into like an A class and a B class of just randomness. It's not actually split by height or anything. It's just your first half, second half. But yeah, there's no height classes in ICN. But in the masters, they do have split ages. So it goes up every 10 years. So there's like 30 plus, 40 plus, 50 plus, 60 plus. And then there's also the bikini mamas, which is basically like a celebration of like, you've had a child and you are still looking this amazing. And it's really cool because they often get their kids up on stage for the winners on the podium, which is really cute. So yeah, that's pretty much the progressions for ICN. They do have a juniors as well. So pretty much the same, just with the addition of the bikini mamas and also no height classes. Is the difference there.
Yeah,
And then
that's
from
really
there, pro qualified is the next step up. So this is different to IFBB. So in ICN, we have a pro qualified card, which is, it means that you can compete as a pro for 1 year period of getting that pro qualified card. So currently I'm pro qualified. I'm allowed to compete in pro shows, but once that year expires, I'm not technically a pro anymore. I'm not a pro. I can't say right now that I'm a pro athlete. I'm pro qualified. I can compete as a pro, but I'm not actually a pro. If you become top 3 in a pro show, you get your pro card.
What was your result in bikini in the world champs in the pro?
3rd.
Yeah. So what we say?
Okay,
Just
well,
putting
for
it in.
that one, that was a little
Uh-huh.
bit different because there was only 4 of us, and
Should
3 of us got our pro status or whatever on that day.
should have been second, but that's just my biased opinion. Anyway, but as you said, there's lots of
Anyway,
progressions. There's lots of
yes, then you can
federations.
become pro, and then in ICN, I think they're actually they are starting to build up more of those upper level shows. Like the World Champs has just kind of started. This year it's in Dubai, so I won't be traveling to it because it's a little bit expensive. So yeah, there is World Champs this year in New Zealand. We have Oceania, which is also obviously an international event. Yeah.
So yeah, look, again, find the federation, find the class, find the division that works for you. Embrace it, own it, have fun with it. Do your research, go and watch a show, guys. I mean, at the end of the
Yes,
day,
watch those.
go and watch the shows, because that is how the federations make money. And if you guys don't go watch the shows, they can't afford to put them on. So go there. Don't just go there to support your friend. Stay for the whole show. If you don't know anybody in it, but you were thinking about competing, go and have a watch. You know,
And cheer for people. Like, even if you don't know them, if you think someone should win, look at their
yeah,
number, cheer for their number. Honestly, as an athlete, it means so much more to me when I hear my number called than my name. Because if I hear my name, I know that person knows me, so they're probably biased. But if I hear my number, I'm like, oh shit, they don't even know me and they think I should win.
yeah,
And that's special.
yeah. And remember, if you're a fan of the sport, go watch, particularly domestically in New Zealand. Most of the shows aren't live streamed, and if they are, it's usually the judges sitting at the table with their phones going, oh, look. Go support the sport. Go and support your friends. Do some research. You know, I'm going to say go to the IFBB. Rachel's going to say go ICN. I'm going to say go to both because I'm going to cover everything.
Okay, I'll go both. That's fine.
Yeah, go to both.
That's what I did.
And yep, try it.
The only
And
issue
you know
is
what?
posing.
Yeah,
Posing
posing's different.
Yeah, which is quite tricky to kind of go back and forth. Learn to pose to the right.
Quarter turn to the right, not the other right. And just remember, guys, go out there, support the sport. And the way you support the sport is by going to the shows. You know, pay your money, get out there, make some noise. These guys have done a shit ton of work to get there. They've dieted anywhere from 16 to 30 weeks. You don't need to know them. As you said, as Rachel said, cheer their numbers, get out there, support them, give the federations you love, give their sponsors you love. Those guys give a lot of support and money to the federations. They do a lot of work in the background, the likes of Extreme Nutrition, the guys at Nutrition Systems New Zealand from the IFBB side, Nutrition Warehouse from ICN. Spread the love, have some fun, but mostly enjoy what you're doing. And again, if you like what we say, we'll see you next week. If you don't like what you say, it was Rachel's fault.
But anyway, see you next week.